All right, we're about to pull back the curtain on one of the most brilliant, dangerous, and, frankly, mysterious figures of the English Renaissance. We're talking about a playwright, a poet, and a spy. His name was Christopher Marlowe.
So, what if I told you that Shakespeare's biggest rival was actually a government spy who died under, let's just say, very mysterious circumstances? I know. It sounds like the plot of a thriller, right? But this was the real life of the man who arguably paved the entire way for Shakespeare. He was a total trailblazer whose life was cut tragically short, leaving us with this incredible legacy and a whole cloud of unanswered questions.
And just look at that timeline. His life was unbelievably short. He was born in the exact same year as Shakespeare, but man, Marlowe burned bright and fast. I mean, in just a handful of years, he goes from being a student to the absolute talk of London, all while living this shadowy second life, and then he's gone, dead at just 29. So the big question is, how on earth did he accomplish so much?
Okay, let's dive into his dangerous life. To really get Marlowe, you have to understand he was basically juggling 3 different lives at the same time. This wasn't just some guy writing plays in a quiet room. He was literally reshaping the English stage while also navigating the incredibly treacherous world of Elizabethan espionage.
So, his single biggest game changer, it was something called blank verse. Before Marlowe, plays could sound, well, kind of stiff and unnatural. The dialogue was very formal, but Marlowe comes along and pioneers this new style. It's rhythmic, it's poetic, but it isn't rhyming all the time. It sounded both epic and, for the first time, really natural. It's like he gave his characters a real heartbeat, a psychological depth they just didn't have before. And this completely changed everything.
All right, so he's got this powerful new tool, this new language for the stage. What does he do with it? Well, he creates a whole new kind of hero, or maybe an anti-hero. See, Marlowe was obsessed with these massive personalities, these characters who were reaching for godlike power and were willing to burn everything down to get it. These were his great overreachers.
Let's take his first big hit, Tamburlaine. This is not your simple good guy versus bad guy story. Not at all. It's about a man with this absolutely insatiable thirst for power. It perfectly illustrates Marlowe's fascination with ambition as a force that can both create empires and lead to complete and utter devastation.
And then, you've got maybe his most famous creation of all, Doctor Faustus. This time, the ambition isn't for land or conquest, it's for knowledge. Limitless knowledge. Faustus makes the ultimate bad deal. He sells his soul to the devil for 24 years of being able to do and know anything. It becomes this timeless, powerful cautionary tale about what happens when human desire goes completely unchecked.
So when you put these two guys side by side, a pattern just jumps out at you, right? They're both driven by this absolutely towering ambition, but they take totally different roads to get to the same disastrous end. Tamburlaine wants to conquer the physical world, Faustus wants to master the world of ideas. Through them, Marlowe's asking the same terrifying question, just from 2 different angles. What is the real price of ultimate power?
But here's the thing. Marlowe wasn't just writing about these larger-than-life figures. Nope. He was using the stage like a surgeon's scalpel, dissecting the political and social corruption of his own time, of Elizabethan England. He was holding a mirror up to a pretty flawed world.
I mean, his plays were just packed with critiques of the establishment. He was absolutely fearless. He'd put religious hypocrisy on trial for everyone to see. He'd show the destructive, poisonous nature of revenge. And he was really interested in that clash between what a leader wants personally versus their public duty.
Take the Jew of Malta, for example. The main character gets totally wronged by a corrupt state, so he goes on this brutal path of vengeance. But here's the genius of it. Through his actions, Marlowe basically exposes the whole of society, the government, the church, everyone, as being just as morally bankrupt.
And then there's Edward II. It's this incredible story about a king whose personal life ends up throwing the entire kingdom into chaos. It's a powerful tragedy that asks a question we're still grappling with today, right? Where's the line between a public figure's private life and their public duty?
But don't think for a second he was just about tragedy and politics. The guy's range was incredible. He was also a breathtakingly good poet. He could write about tragic love with the exact same passion and depth that he brought to his plays.
His poem Hero and Leander, it's just the perfect example. It is this gorgeous, lyrical, heartbreaking story about 2 lovers separated by the sea. It's a total masterpiece, and it just proves that the same mind that dreamed up these brutal, power-hungry conquerors could also capture the most delicate and beautiful parts of love.
So, let's wrap this up.
What's the big takeaway from this short, explosive life? Why do we still talk about Christopher Marlowe today? Well, simply put, it's because his ghost, his influence, looms over everything that came after him. He truly laid the foundation for greatness.
First off, he gave the stage its modern voice. That powerful, flexible blank verse we talked about, it became the gold standard for pretty much all dramatic writing.
Second, he basically invented the modern tragic hero. You know, that complex, ambitious, deeply flawed main character? Think Macbeth. Heck, think Walter White from Breaking Bad. That whole archetype really has its roots in Marlowe's Doctor Faustus and Tamburlaine.
And number 3, and this is the big one, he set the stage for William Shakespeare. Marlowe's innovations in language, in character, in theme, they created the very theatrical world where a talent like Shakespeare could even exist, let alone flourish and build his own immortal legacy.
And that brings us to the final haunting question. You have to wonder, if Christopher Marlowe hadn't died in that tavern at just 29, if he'd lived another 30 years, would we be talking about the age of Marlowe right now instead of the age of Shakespeare? We'll never know, of course, but it's got to be one of the greatest what-ifs in all of literature.